This week on Misadventures. Oh, doing a recap now, are we? You'll be hearing from my lawyers. I will see you in court. Just kidding. Over to you guys.
Well, thank you very much for that, Pix, and thank you for not suing us as well. Welcome back to Misadventures Recap, and we've got a load to update you all on today. Whether it's Martin willing mending fishing rods into existence.
Gosh, I tell you what, that fishing rod's getting low now. I need to get mending on it. Ooh. Okay. Oh my god.
Avid smiting his business partner Drift from above and then paying the price.
Just all the souls of that stuff. Wait, how?
Or a lovely little sing-song from Sausage.
Build the road most aesthetic, not the road quickest traveled.
We've got loads to go over today, so let's get into it. But very quickly before we do, make sure you subscribe right now if you want to stay up to date on everything happening in Misadventures. Let's recap.
Sausage begins his episode by confirming that the skeleton wolf mount is in fact real. He didn't initially know how it happened, but after watching the replay file, he realized it dropped after killing the warrior's companion, making him the first player on the server to get the unbelievably rare drop. Martin and Cam rushed over to see it for themselves, before taking a tour of Sausage's new roadside tavern. Sausage heads back home to name his new skeleton wolf Bubbles, and bumps into Jimmy, who asks for some food and gold. He obliges before locking him inside his home and running away to the resource world. Jimmy is freed, and then Sausage leaves him with a questionable threat.
That was the most evil thing I've experienced in years.
Well, allow me to suck the soul from you as well.
No!
He then shows off the space cleared for the community fighting pit before jumping into a time-lapse of the build. Cam, Drift, and Matt are the first to see the finished product, and with Sausage being the first death in the pit, it is officially open for fighting, and maybe a sacrifice or two. Sausage wins the first free-for-all battle, and after many more 1v1s, Scott drops in from above to kill Cam. Many times.
Alright, we get it. You win one life series. You win one life series. So you win a second life series and you think you're literally all that.
Sausage uses the various player heads to finish decorating and announces some future tournaments to come.
Shelby starts things off this week by being warned by Eloise that Lizzie is going around asking for welcome gifts. And with impeccable timing, Lizzie then shows up. Shelby gives her a banner as a decorative tool, and Lizzie is off on her merry way. Eloise returns and hatches a plan with Shelby to give Lizzie a welcome party in her home in Maryport, where, let's be honest, people usually give housewarming gifts. Party planning aside, Shelby hears rumours of a skeleton dog mount in the Lost Crypt, and decides to team up with Ollie to figure out how to get it. The first theory is to feed it a large amount of meat. That doesn't work. The next theory is to give a correctly named name tag, and apparently direwolf doesn't work either. They settle on it likely being a rare drop chance, just as Ollie dies and they decide to come back another day. But it turns out Shelby really wanted that mount, and shares with us that she has ran the Lost Crypt 533 times and has still not got the mount. However, Sausage managed to get it in just 8 tries, which I'm sure that isn't frustrating in the slightest. The only upside to that many dungeon runs is that Shelby now has 30,000 gold, and we're very interested to see where that gets spent. Using her well-practiced knowledge of the dungeon now, Shelby teams up with Gem and fWhip to give it one more go, but to sadly no avail.
Martin's goal this week is to build and launch a server post office, doubling as his new home in the community town, but also disguising his evil intentions of being given access to everyone's plots. The build in mind is heavily inspired by Japanese architecture, which means needing some hard to acquire blocks. He struggles with bees for beehives, magma cubes and nether portals for frog lights, and even goat horns. Talking through the time-lapse, he finishes the build with an adorable sleeping rat. I really love the creative use of some of these blocks. The goat horns for eyes, the custom banner and dried coral to look like rat teeth and fur, and glass panes and candles to look like reeds. He adds an Easter egg by naming 2 of his rats Water and Munch, which is a reference to the Rats SMP post rat. Shout out Water Munch. Continuing the tour, he plans for a future NPC to sell stamps, and shows off the notice board displaying trending news, such as Sausage unlocking the wolf mount, and quests now being available on the server. He even plans for a future newspaper to launch called The Misinformer. Sausage gives Martin and Cam a tour of the new roadside tavern, featuring some questionable roleplay.
Yeah, I'll give you some clean towels too, because I know it could get a little sweaty in there.
We could see there's a real stank with this one. Yeah, green.
Stop calling me this one.
Back at the post office, Martin shows off the mailroom with personalized mailboxes for each player, before jumping into a creative world to design some post boxes. I recommend going to watch the process because it gives a really interesting insight to how the final design was made. Back on the server, Avid becomes the first customer to receive a mailbox installation. He's instantly suspicious of mine trying to gain build permissions, but accepts anyway. Martin then finds a new sheep in Molly's pen, but this one has a quest: Avenge the Flock, which requires the players to bring them Ren's head. Martin, horrified, runs away to warn Brother Dung.
Jojo awakes from a chaotic dream, or perhaps nightmare, involving Lizzie and some kind of lever. Very curious indeed. She sets out exploring and also manages to tame a horse, or rather, meet her new best friend forever. Jojo then sets out to meet a load of the NPCs in the wilderness, such as Travis at the Goat Shack, Jubble Rock and Victor at the Lush Copper Mine, Pumpkin Patch Sam at, well, you guessed it, the Pumpkin Patch, as well as many other sites new to the server. Jojo then visits Sausage in the community town, picks out a plot, and contributes 3,000 gold to start building a home.
Please make it rain on me in the ceremonial bath.
We then see a time-lapse of the construction of Doing's tent, which will be used primarily for storage and more specifically for the clocks that keep randomly appearing. She also then builds a well for apparent sacrificial purposes, but most importantly,
there is a bell that you can ding.
In Jojo's next episode, Sausage tells her that if she wants to make loads of money, she needs to bring a notch apple to someone in Orchidia. Inspired by the prospect of more money, she runs the Lost Crypt 26 times to obtain 34 notch apples. Jojo finally figures out it's Esperanza who offers the incredible trade and proceeds to spam trade 33 notch apples for a total of 33,000 gold. Pretty incredible deal if you ask me. After locking in the get rich quick scheme, Jojo then decides to complete every single quest and travels around gathering them. Do you need any help is a great way to start a quest, isn't that right, Hannah?
Hannah, do you need any help? You're saying I don't, but you definitely look like you do need help.
After an intense grind, Jojo completes every available quest she gathered, as well as figuring out if you right-click Molly Shepherd, you can purchase the mount, and she does just that. Well, I guess she also then leaves her best friend forever tied up in the Maryport stables after getting this new mount, so...
Drift begins week 3 by grinding away in the dungeons to raise money for her own dungeon plot. She explains her plans of a tower in an ancient town of forgotten magic, making players parkour their way up to unlock the secrets and their loot. After making a couple check-ins with the Milk Tavern, Drift and Avid now have new business attire as well as a new in-house comedian, Cam. With a little more money in her pocket, she decides to clear her debt with Mayor Sev and negotiates her way out of debt with Tanisha by agreeing to decorate her home. She takes a break to name her rat Archie and picks out a perfect forest for her forgotten town. She reveals Tanisha's new cozy home makeover and purchases her first plot of land for the dungeon.
Scott starts things off by revealing he has called his white rat mount Stuart, a very fitting name indeed. We then get to see the updated cult portal that Scott has been working on while streaming, as well as the start of his secret tunnel to the Amethyst Cave. We then get the moment that we've been waiting for at least, and that's Scott's reaction to finding out about Molly's reputation list. Scott decides to start undoing the damage by completing her quest. However, he crunches the numbers and figures out it'll involve completing the quest 46 times to shear 2,300 sheep. Needless to say, that's going to be an ongoing project.
Sky Pirate Pix gives Milk Majesty Drift the tour of his Maryport home, and after gearing up, they head to the Lost Crypt dungeon. Pix shows Drift how to unlock all the secret rooms and bonus loot, and even gives a lesson in parkour. Back in the wilderness, Pix purchases the plot for his Sky Pirate roost and explains his Sky Island plans. Visits fWhip to trade some hay bales in return for a future dungeon collab, which I'm extremely excited to see, and then begins the Sky Pirate roost and airship build timelapse. Martin visits to collect a couple stacks of leather and installs Pix's mailbox. He gives a quick tour of the area, now named Jottenberg in Hawthorne Valley, or Jottenberg, I'm not entirely sure. Then Pix closes out the episode by plugging his live streams, which is where the finishing touches and decoration of his new home will be completed.
Jimmy shows off his candle collection that's definitely been growing, but not growing as much as his fondness towards Rosalia. Yeah, that's right everybody, Jimmy and Rosalia are officially an item. Their future was looking as bright as the candles she sells until Kirsty found out, and she was not impressed.
I'm in a relationship with her now in-game.
What?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
I am.
Then you're not in one with me. Break up with her immediately.
Excuse me, I asked her out.
Who is this woman?
This is you. You sell candles on the side.
No.
This is something you would do in real life. You'd love to have a candle business.
Far away from Orchidia and relationship struggles, Jimmy decides to grind Molly's quest to get the sheep mount. 3 quest runs later and Lil Tim is born into our lives. While back on his island, he notices a certain postman on his roof and finds out Martin is there to install his new postbox. He then begins clearing space on the island to build a spa, with the idea that fWhip will also build him some palm trees. Speaking of fWhip, he's very good at creeping up on people.
Good day for fishing, huh?
They agree on 750 gold per tree and start with just the 5 for now. We're even treated to this time lapse of the spa coming together. Looking good, Jim. looking good.
With her newfound museum, Katherine needs to start adding some exhibits. She has a couple dungeon displays in mind, so she gears up to take on the Lost Crypt, recruiting Avid along the way, who lends her a few diamonds for her first shulker box. The crypt begins well, finding her first couple of artifacts for the museum, the skeleton head and the warrior boots, but then she tries to break a pot and kills Avid instead.
You know, had to fire.
Back for a second attempt, they complete all the puzzles, trade the diamond block for a shulker box, and farm some amethyst from the sacrifice room. Back at the museum, she installs and decorates the first 2 exhibits, one for the Lost Crypt and one for the sewers. Now wanting a local goods exhibit, Scott shows Katherine around the Maryport vendors, where she settles on a pufferfish head from Herbert and collects some wool from Molly's sheep farm.
So we can just take a piece of wool and leave the sheep unharmed. Not like everyone else killing them for rat food.
She buys a candle from Rosalia and then loses her horse again. One more rescue operation later, she moves on to the local copper, amethyst, and iron mines before heading back home. Now with the local goods exhibit installed, this museum is really starting to take shape.
Avid is thoroughly spoiling us with yet another original song, Bees. Avid says he's going to be making a Space Bee module in the Autumn Cove, mainly to make gathering specific resources a little less strenuous. Whilst getting slimed in the dungeon, he was able to find 10 backpacks, which he then traded with Shelby for a mending book, with fWhip for an enchanted gapple, and even with Drift to lock in a space build collab in the future. Avid then hears about a fighting pit that's been claiming the lives of a few misadventurers, and decides to pay it a visit. And this is where the drift kill that you saw at the start of this video comes in. Avid defeats Cam 4-2 in a dueling session and then somehow manages to end up in a 3-way kiss.
3, 2, 1.
We are the worst.
Wow,
we are
really
awful.
We wrap things up with a time lapse of the previously mentioned Space Bee module, or as it is now known, the Beetle. Avid hopes that this will be able to become a honey farm for players, with only the slight threat of an angry bee if you decide to pay it a visit.
fWhip begins week 3 by announcing plans for a Road Builders Guild, as well as teasing some more information about his cave system dungeon, but needing 66,000 gold to buy both plots. He finds Lena Colt, a new NPC at the stables who sells a horse mount, but needing Maryport rep to purchase. She doesn't have a quest, but fWhip asks around and is able to find a few. Heading over to Arcadia, he finds a couple more quests, but most importantly, Esperanza's quest for an enchanted golden apple. Since fWhip has spent a lot of time in the Lost Crypt trying to find a way to take the skeleton wolf home, he's racked up 29 golden apples. Handing them all in, he is rewarded with 29,000 gold and 2,900 Maryport rep. Now knowing the skeleton wolf mount is real and works on a drop rate chance, he heads back to the Lost Crypt for a few more attempts. With no mount luck, he does find another 11 golden apples and hands them in, bringing his total to 66,000 gold. Sausage hires his building services for a beautiful custom oak tree which earns him 4,000 gold, and Jimmy hires him for some custom palm trees on Isla Bonita, earning him another 3,750 gold. Hours and hours of dungeon running later, he still hasn't got the wolf mount, but he does find enough golden apples to take him to 100,000 gold. After spending the 66,000 for both plots, he talks through the Road Builders Guild build. I recommend going to watch because there are some really cool details added. While farming wool for banners, he mentions the sheep mount and Molly's rep system, but decides he is far too gone to try and right his wrongs. With a few more finishing touches and a Road Builders code in place, the headquarters are complete. Martin helps spread the word by delivering some flyers, and shortly after we have the first batch of recruits. Sausage, Sev, Matt, Avid and Drift take part in some road building training. Despite a small fire and varying levels of talent, all of them end up hired.
Sev begins her episode with the goal of finally being able to buy her dungeon plot. She heads to Molly's sheep farm to show how the new quest system works, as well as the purchasable sheep mount from Molly. She then finds the new NPC Molly Sheep with the quest to hand in Wren's head. Even though they are fellow cult members, Sev does not hesitate to accept the challenge. She keeps the details of her upcoming build a secret, but groups up with Drift for a materials and resources run, just to try and kill her in the process.
Get pranked!
Oh my...
Sev!
With her newfound diamonds, she gears up and is back to grinding in the sewer dungeon, where she is rewarded with a new backpack. Taking a break from the money grind, she digs out and decorates a new storage room, before being informed by Martin that he must kill her for a new mailbox. After the mailbox is installed, she instantly receives her first piece of mail, a flyer advertising the new Road Builders Guild. Matt then passes through town and asks for build access for some custom trees. Sev grants the perms, but quickly finds out that she has been caught up in a feud between Sausage and Matt, and has made a grave mistake, paying for it with her life. After that and a couple of fishing quests, Sev finally has enough money to purchase the abandoned garden plot. That's all we have time for this week, but let us know down below what your favourite moments have been so far in Misadventures. Also make sure to check out the wiki, as it's an amazing tool for learning about the server. I use it a lot personally. And also make sure you subscribe, because why not, right? We've got a really cool video coming out on Wednesday that we've been working on for a while, and it's something a little bit different. So that's all for this week. We'll see you Wednesday. Bye bye.